before then, Arsenal fans, Leicester fans, we want to hear from you. We've got to start by talking about Arsenal because they beat Brentford 3-0 at the weekend. Maybe not the result, the scoreline, the most surprising thing, although that's maybe some evidence of how far Arsenal have come. But I think for a lot of the Arsenal fans, what stood out was the replacements that came in. You know, we talk about how good Zinchenko has been and what a great signing that was, but Kieran Tierney coming into the side and doing so well in that role, that sort of inverted fullback role that Pep Guardiola and Mikel Arteta have adopted. Fantastic for them. Fabio Vieira, what a wonderful goal. Just showing us that maybe he could get to grips with life in England and be a very important player for them as well. Without Martin Ødegaard, maybe his understudy at the moment, but that strength in depth was maybe something that was just underlined. And also, Danny, the quality of the football, it is there at the moment at Arsenal, top of the league. Time to revel a little bit and ask that question. Could they go on from here? Could they get stronger? Could they challenge for the Premier League title?
They're playing some really good football. Lots of good young players, lots of potential. It's all going very, very well at the moment. I think it's going to be a very difficult task to keep pace with Manchester City for them this season. Young players doing well at the moment. We're 6 games in. There will be a dip at some point. You know, these young players, it's what happens. It happens with every single young team. And they don't have a huge amount of experience in and around them. You know, you go back to the class of 92 and when people said, you don't win anything with kids. They had some very experienced players in that team and in that dressing room, and a manager also obviously at the time. So, yeah, they're playing really well. Enjoy it. They've got to aim. Top 4 is still where their aim has to be. That's a realistic finish, I think, now. The start they've given themselves. To win the league, I don't think even the die-hard of hardest Arsenal fans, even Laura Woods, I'm not convinced, would think that Arsenal are going to win the league at this stage.
It's interesting because that's the first thing that came to my mind as well when I was thinking about what Arsenal could do for the rest of the season. How would they cope with a dip in form? Firstly, they have added the likes of Zinchenko, the likes of Gabriel Jesus, who've been in the Premier League for a long time and do have a little bit more of that experience that we were talking about. But also, the way that they've responded at the start of this season, 6 wins from 7 so far. When you think about dips, the disappointment of missing out in the Champions League race last year, the way that you've done it to your biggest rivals, your North London rivals, Tottenham Hotspur, including a game directly against them, which was a bit of an embarrassment on the night for Arsenal. A lot of Arsenal fans truly disappointed by that one, totally dejected by the result against Newcastle, which eventually meant in the final week that they missed out on a place in the Champions League. But their response at the start of this season, I think, shows to me that this is a group of players that can respond when things go wrong, because I can't imagine anything can happen to them during the course of this season that will feel worse than that did, missing out in the top 4 to Tottenham at the end of last season. So no. I'm encouraged by that.
Oh, definitely, but feeling it and doing something about it are 2 completely different things. You know, there will become a point where they lose one, they draw another one, a few little doubts start to creep in. You start to get questioned. They're not going to go the rest of the season unbeaten, are they? I know they bounced back after the Manchester United defeat, but I think when you look at their run or their games so far, it's been quite friendly. If you know, apart from Manchester United, we're in a bit of a slump at the time. The games have been favourable to them. You know, wait until they play some tough games back to back, pick up 1 or 2 injuries, perhaps. That's when I think you'll see them. They're not going to fall off a cliff.
Europa League as well.
Yeah,
Thursday nights.
They're not going to fall off a cliff. They're doing well, and Arteta's been building this for some time. They've got some good young players still to come back in, but young players are inconsistent. Happens everywhere. No matter, unless you're Lionel Messi, you know, and you start at 16 and go all the way through, you will have inconsistencies. You know, in your first probably 3 or 4 seasons, we've seen it every single time. That's why young players come in and out of the squads. So, no, they're doing great. I think he's doing a very, very good job at the moment. They've got to keep it going. But still, I think to finish in the top 4 would be still a magnificent finish for them.
Okay. All right. The one thing that I would say, though, on Arsenal and Arsenal fans, you need to call Danny Mills, by the way, and big your team up. I mean, nothing would feel sweeter, right? Call Danny Mills, big Arsenal up, 03717 223344.
They're doing well, top of the league, can't argue with that.
But all I'm going to say is people didn't believe Leicester could do it either. That's all I'm going to say, all right? So, Arsenal fans, you can believe despite what Danny Mills is saying. And if you do believe, give us a call, 03717 223344. We will also be discussing one of the young players in your squad who made their Premier League debut, Ethan Nwaneri, at the weekend, 15 years old. Is that the right decision from Mikel Arteta?